Welcome to yesterday's news, where Republicans make their own cope website, and Elon Musk has another kid. Starting off with, this time is different, and he'll be a good father for sure. I don't know if the child is mine or not, but I'm not against finding out. No court order is needed. Despite not knowing for sure, I've given Ashley $2.5 million, and I'm sending her $500,000 a year. Elon, we've asked you to confirm paternity through a test before our child, who you named, was even born. You refused. And you weren't sending me money, you were sending support for your child that you thought was necessary, until you withdrew most of it to maintain control and punish me for disobedience. But you're really only punishing your son. It's so ironic that your last effort in court was to try and gag me, while you use a social media channel you literally own to distribute derogatory messages about me and our child to the entire world. It's all about control with you. And everyone can see it. America needs you to grow up, you petulant man-child. Elon Musk says he's given Ashley St. Clair $2.5 million in child support. She says she's had to sell her Tesla. I'm selling it because I need to make up for the 60% cut that Elon's made to our child support, St. Clair told reporters Saturday. Him cutting child support to punish a woman? Regardless of politics, that's got him all over. I'm selling it because I need to make up for the 60% cut that Elon made to our son's child support, she told a Mail Online reporter who witnessed her handing the $100,000 black Model S over to a car sales representative outside her Manhattan apartment Saturday. St. Clair, 26, told the Mail that she last attempted to contact the world's richest man on February 13th and that he had not responded to her. When a reporter asked if Musk had been vindictive towards St. Clair, she said, "Yeah, that's his modus operandi when women speak out." The Independent contacted Elon Musk's lawyer for comment. St. Clair first went public with the accusations on February 14th on X, declaring that she'd given birth to the child 5 months before, and that Elon Musk is the father, she wrote. "I've not previously disclosed this to protect our child's privacy and safety, but in recent days it has become clear that the tabloid media intends to do so, regardless of the harm it will cause." St. Clair then filed a paternity and custody lawsuit in a New York court on February 21st, after Musk reportedly told her to keep the baby a secret, then ghosted her, forcing her to go public and take legal action. The funny thing is, America doesn't need his ass at all. Apparently, the only people who need Elon are his baby mamas. He should quit his jobs and go and be a full-time dad to his 13 children. I've always heard that being a parent is the most important job in the world. Yeah, but this way he can go fuck up the lives of thousands of children at once. Why cause pain to 13 kids while he can easily do 30,000 from the warmth and safety of his K-hole? I mean, in the long run, that could probably be closer to like 3 million. He should take a one-way ticket ride to Mars. On the other hand, that would despoil the red planet with a two-legged contaminant. He should take a one-way ticket ride to Mars. Yeah, good luck with that. Elon is such a pathetic little bitch that he's the only billionaire with his own rocket company who has not taken a trip on his rockets. He's far too scared to get on a SpaceX rocket to go to orbit, much less on one with the intent to go to fucking Mars. Up next, something quite funny I found earlier. A whole website dedicated to Republicans complaining that their decisions had consequences. Betrayedbytrump.com. No Democrats, no bots, no trolls. This is a platform dedicated to collecting and sharing stories from Trump supporters who feel betrayed by Donald Trump and or the elected and unelected officials who enable him. Our goal is to give voice to those who have experienced broken promises, policy reversals that contradict the values and commitments they told us they believed in. Well, I don't know how none of you didn't see this coming because he's a notorious liar. But hey, let's have a look at some of the stories they've shared. Why not? I'm a Trump supporter and cattle rancher in Missouri. I was depending on a $240,000 cost-sharing program with the US Department of Agriculture that I signed so I could add fencing and improve my ranch's water system. Now I'm set to lose tens of thousands of dollars because the Trump administration froze the contract. I've already done a bunch of the work, already paid for the material and the labor, so I'm all out of that cost. We are possibly gonna lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us. Oh, what's that? The guy you voted for that kept saying he would freeze funding and strip down the federal government did the thing he said he would do? Who could have thought? I need a place to vent about Trump without reading "We told you so" from all of those people we ignored or argued before November who told us so. That's good. How about we need a safe space to complain about the fact we weren't told so without being interfered with the people who told us so? Nobody snowflakes as well as a MAGA. This is peak snowflake. Look, it's Super Victim, the whiniest bitch in America. Diaper baby pity party only. Nobody who might talk sense, no accepting responsibility. We're just here to justify our next Republican vote. What? Broken promises? From Trump? No. Okay, but I just want to talk about how this hurts me specifically, and why I should vote the same way next time. See, if we love him enough and send him enough money, he will change his mind and make us all trillionaires. Yeah, surely this time his cryptocurrency will be stable. Just a quick editor's note, while I was editing this, like 3 or 4 pretty big stories came out. So we're gonna run through them in this video as quickly as I can. Tesla sales plunge after Elon Musk backlash. Tesla sales have plummeted to their lowest level in 3 years after a backlash against its boss, Elon Musk. The electric car maker delivered almost 337,000 electric vehicles in the first 3 months of 2023, a 13% drop from a year ago. That a trillion-dollar company only sells 337,000 vehicles a quarter? Not like it's overvalued or anything. Tesla shares plummeted after the release of unexpectedly low sales numbers. The cars face increasing competition from Chinese firm BYD, but experts believe Musk's controversial role in the Trump administration has had an effect too. The firm has blamed the drop on the transition to a new version of its most popular car. However, some analysts have pointed the finger at Musk himself. Well, yeah, no shit, because he's going against the primary demographic of his business. These numbers suck. Tesla shareholder Ross Gerber of Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management wrote on X, "The brand is broken and may not be fixable," added Mr. Gerber, who has previously called for the board to remove Musk as CEO, and that would be long overdue if he did. Tesla takedown. There have been protests and boycotts around the world, prompted by Musk's outspoken and controversial political involvement. He has been heading up President Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, initiative to cut federal spending and slash the government workforce. The Tesla boss is the world's richest man, and contributed more than $250 million to help Trump get elected in November. In recent weeks, Mr. Musk has poured millions into a Wisconsin Supreme Court race, supporting former Republican Attorney General Brett Schimmel, who was soundly defeated on Tuesday. I'm not going to say much about that because there's a whole article about that later. The backlash against Mr. Musk has included Tesla takedown protests at Tesla dealerships across the US and in Europe. Tesla vehicles have also been vandalized, and Trump has said his administration would charge people who deface Teslas with domestic terrorism. Spraying paint on a car dealership isn't domestic terrorism just because your rich buddy who bankrolled you into office is the one who owns the dealership. And up next, Elon Musk is mocked for trying to spin the Wisconsin election result. You failed. You couldn't even buy the vote. Musk jumped to X to scorn the Lan Khan of the left, shortly after the Democratic defeat where the Democrats won. Elon Musk was roundly mocked on social media after attempting to spin his defeat in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race into a win for voters' rights. "This was the most important thing," Musk posted on X in response to a post confirming that Question 1, which adds voter ID requirement to the state's constitution, has passed. But despite that, that was already the law in Wisconsin, and Question 1 just protected it in the state's constitution. However, Musk has long focused on the state's Supreme Court race, and talked a little about Question 1. Yeah, because he is coping hard. He often posted on social media about the dangers of electing a liberal judge, and poured $25 million into the state to support the conservative candidate, including giving away money to people who voted, which to my knowledge and my research is a crime. However, Musk's pick lost to the liberal candidate, despite him bankrolling it. That led to Musk's post on X downplaying the loss, and the round of mocking that followed. "You failed. You couldn't even buy the vote." See, that was the most important thing, wrote one user in response to his post. Others recalled other statements Musk had made in the lead up to election day. You said the fate of Western civilization depended on the Supreme Court race, and now you're coping hard. This has been the law in Wisconsin since 2016, wrote another user. One added, so this, which has already been a law in Wisconsin for nearly over a decade, is what you meant by saving Western civilization? There was no actual race where you spent all the millions trying to buy it? So that why you spent $25 million on the other thing? Another user asked. Well, with all these articles in this video, it looks like it's not been a good week for Musk, has it? And good, this is what he gets for trying to bankroll his way into the federal government, and then break it from the inside. And also, this doesn't even include another article I found that Musk is going to be leaving, or most likely kicked out, of DOGE. But hey, this video is getting long enough, so we might get into detail on that in another episode. And up next, a Democrat called Cory makes the longest Senate speech in a 25-hour-long stand against Trump. US Senator Cory has broken the record for the longest speech ever delivered in the Senate. The New Jersey Democrats' marathon address, a symbolic protest against President Donald Trump, in which he warned of a grave and urgent moment in American history, ended after 25 hours and 4 minutes. Although it was technically not a filibuster, a speech designed to obstruct passage of a bill, it held up legislative business in the Republican-controlled Senate. The rules for such speeches require a speaker to remain standing and forego bathroom breaks. God, the dedication is quite admirable. The previous record was held by Republican Senator Strom Thurmond, who, when still a Democrat in 1957, spoke for 24 hours and 18 minutes against the Civil Rights Act. Booker said he would speak for as long as he was physically able as he began his address around 1900 local time on Monday evening. He concluded at 20:06 on Tuesday. The 55-year-old, who's the fourth-ranking Democrat in the chamber, filled some of the time reading letters from constituents who said they'd been harmed by Trump's policies. Again, that's another sign your voices are heard. So as much as some of you might be worried, there is still a fight and people working hard to try and push back on some of these things. And what it seems like is a lot of factors aren't going as well as the Republicans planned. The former presidential candidate also ran out the clock by discussing sports, reciting poetry, and taking questions from colleagues. Booker, who is African American, also spoke of his roots as the descendant of both slaves and slave owners. I'm here because as powerful as he was, the people are more powerful, he said, referring to segregationist Thurmond's record-setting address 68 years ago. As he reached the milestone, Booker said he was going to deal with some of the biological urgencies I'm feeling. He was able to give his jaw much-needed respite during the speech by taking questions from colleagues, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York, Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, and Senator Kristen Gilliland of New York. The Democratic Party, currently out of power in the White House, Senate, and House of Representatives, rallied behind Booker's symbolic act of protest. And doing a speech for 25 hours has got to take some insane work. Like, even for me, recording for an hour will absolutely ruin my voice. So real props to Booker, he did a really good job here. Up next, the infighting is real. Republican calls ICE on a GOP rival's farm. An Idaho Republican accused a GOP rival of harassment in an op-ed after he reported her farm to federal immigration authorities. In January, Ryan Spoon, vice chair of the Republican Party in Ada County, publicly called for immigration raids on State Representative Stephanie Mickelson's farm, accusing her of employing undocumented workers. Days later, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents arrived at Mickelson Farms, escalating political tensions and raising concerns about the impact of immigration enforcement on Idaho's agriculture industry. Those who speak up with concerns that challenge certain views are quickly labeled as non-conservative and targeted for harassment. Mickelson wrote in an op-ed published by the Idaho Statesman, President Donald Trump promised to carry out the largest deportation operation in United States history. He has repeatedly vowed to remove millions of undocumented immigrants. The White House has said that anyone in the country illegally is considered a criminal, and therefore subjected to removal. Could you please send some illegal immigration raids to the businesses owned by Idaho State Rep Stephanie Mickelson? Spoon said in a post on X, formerly Twitter, on January 21st. She's been bragging about how many illegals her businesses employ. He added, as Spoon's social media post about ICE gained over 2,000 shares, he said that sharing alone wasn't enough. He took further action by officially reporting Mickelson's farming businesses to the ICE tip line and website. The Idaho Dairymen's Association estimates that around 90% of workers in the state's dairy industry are foreign-born. And according to the American Business Immigration Coalition, if Trump's flagship policy is implemented, agricultural output will fall between $30 and $60 billion. Sheesh, they're already reporting each other to the Gestapo? Damn, they're really speedrunning fascism. Pre-World War II was just rehearsal to them. They learned, they're more efficient now. I don't even know if I'm entertaining myself or scaring myself here. The internet really helps fascism along. Speed fascism, or fascism. I enjoy this word you made. I'm gonna borrow it for a bit. Ooh, and last of all, a right-wing French politician who voted for tough anti-fraud laws convicted of embezzlement under them. One of many examples of the far-right not being the most upstanding people legally. Shock Le Pen verdict rocks French far-right. Incredible. That was the single word uttered under her breath by Marine Le Pen as she stormed out of a Paris courtroom on Monday morning. She left the court early, just before hearing that she was barred from running for office for 5 years, after being found guilty of embezzlement of EU funds. I thought the right didn't like the EU, now they're embezzling money from it? Almost certainly ruling out her standing in the 2027 French presidential election. Without even waiting for the judge to pronounce the full details of the sentence, the head of the national rally knew that her political goose was cooked. There would be no reprieve pending appeal. The bar on running for office was real and immediate. A 4-year prison sentence, of which 2 will be suspended, will be on hold pending appeal. But for now, her political plans are dead. The corruption law she was convicted under had in fact been recently toughened by the very politicians who are now complaining about its application to make the penalty for misuse of public funds very severe indeed. Well, said the judge in many so words, now let politicians suck up their own medicine. Maybe Marine Le Pen was naive in not predicting this outcome. It certainly appears as if her National Rally Party was singularly unprepared for it. So, as they met in an emergency session under the verdict, party leaders were in a dilemma. Do they continue as if there's still a chance Marine Le Pen will run in 2027? In theory, there is still a small possibility. She has launched an appeal. The appeal could be accelerated and take place at the end of this year or early 2026. A verdict would soon follow in the spring, denouncing what she called a political decision by the judge and a violation of the state law. She called for a swift appeal trial so that her name could be cleared, or at least the ineligibility lifted, in time for the 2027 vote. Yeah, right-wingers and conservatives trying to avoid the judiciary system? Where have I heard that before? There are millions of French people who believe in me. For 20 years, I've been fighting against injustice. It is what I shall continue to do right till the end, she said. Oh wow, Putin won't be happy. Or, as he's called in French, putain. And now of course she deems it as a political trial, says it's a denial of democracy, because it robs the 11 million racists who would vote for her from the right to do so. See, in what will be some news to the Americans, democracies are in fact allowed to defend themselves from subversion by hostile forces, even if those hostile forces use the electoral process to perform their subversion.